Dividing fractions. I'm going to use an example to show what we could be doing here. So in this example, I've got 2 divided by 1/4, and I'm going to use this in terms of apples. Okay, so you can see I've got 2 apples. I'm dividing by 1/4, so I need to see how many times 1/4 goes into these 2 apples. So you can see I started with 2 apples, I cut them into quarters, and you can see now that I am actually left with 8/4. So 2 divided by 1/4 gives me the answer of 8. So when you're dividing by a fraction, your answer is going to become bigger. So you might be able to see that we were dividing by 1/4. So here, 2 divided by 1/4, we ended up getting with the number 8. That would be the same as saying, well, 2 multiplied by 4 is equal to 8. And it is quite interesting because the quarter, where the 4 is here as the denominator, but dividing by a fraction is actually exactly the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 1/4 is 4/1, or just 4. It's like we've inverted it, we've turned it upside down. There's some other important words that you need to be aware of. This bit here, this is the divisor. This is the thing that's doing the dividing. That one is the divisor, and it's that one that had been turned upside down and then ended up being multiplied here. Now, hopefully we're all quite happy with the fact that 12 divided by 3 equals 4. Remembering here the divisor is this number here. I just want to rephrase 12 divided by 3 is equal to 4. We could say, well, I'm starting with the number 12, and then I've got to find a third of it. So finding a third of it, so it's like I'm multiplying it by a third. So 12 multiplied by a third is going to end up as 12 over 3, which I could simplify to become 4. So again, you can see how it's this inverting these numbers. We had 3, the reciprocal of 3, or inverting it, turning it upside down, becomes 1/3. So we can turn our fractions upside down and then just multiply. So let's see that with a slightly more complicated example. So let's start with the fraction 3/4, okay? And I'm going to do 3/4 divided by 1/2. So the divisor is a half. That's how many times does a half fit into 3/4 would be another way of thinking of this. So what we've said is we're going to keep the 3/4 as it is. So the 3/4 stays exactly the same, and we're going to invert. We're going to turn this number upside down. So the 1/2 is going to become 2/1, or just 2. And we're not dividing anymore, we're now timesing. So of course we're going to multiply our fractions. I could just multiply this top line and multiply the bottom line and then simplify, or I could cancel first and then simplify. These are fairly small numbers. I'm just going to multiply the top line. So 3 times 2 gives me the 6, and that's going to come over. The denominator is 4 times 1, which is going to give me the 4. So I've got 6/4. Of course, I didn't simplify it first, so I've got to simplify it now. 6/4, they're both even numbers. I can divide top and bottom by 2, so that's going to give me 3/2. And that is, in fact, an improper fraction. It's top heavy. 3/2 is exactly the same as 1 1/2. So that means that how many times does 1/2 go into 3/4? Well, it actually goes in 1.5 times. So I'm going to show you that with this picture. So here I've drawn a shape that hopefully you recognise representing 3/4. If it had been a complete circle, it would have been a whole one. I've got 3/4 of a circle here. We're seeing how many times does a half fit into that circle. So you can see I can fit in 1 whole half there, and then I've got this bit here. I've got this quarter left here. A quarter is a half of a half, so I've got 1 whole half and a half of a half, which is what I was able to calculate using my my numbers here. So the golden rules that we need to remember when we are dividing by fractions: turn the second fraction, that's the real name is the divisor, or the one that's doing the dividing, upside down. Multiply the fractions, and then simplify your answer if you need to.